right, welcome to Conversations by Courage. Great to have you. You're the last person of the night, but not the least.
I'm excited.
So could you give us an introduction of your name and where you're from?
Yeah, my name is Lauren Fettis, and from a lot of places. I was a military kid and have lived in 6 different states, but I guess probably South Carolina is where I've lived the longest. So at this point, that's home.
Tell me about home. What is it like?
Um, Honestly, home is just family. Wherever my family is, I've moved probably every 3 years for my entire life, and my parents just moved somewhere new last year, even though my dad's retired. And I mean, home is just the people that know you and where you're wanted, not necessarily a place for me. I've lived in probably 15 different houses, um, which made this project very interesting because I recognized my lack of attachment to material things, which was really interesting to navigate. But home has always just been family and community.
So we've been talking about these things of heritage, healing, and hope on the road to 250. And I want to start with heritage and thinking about where you come from, your sense of home, and the people that you love. Can you share an artifact that tells that story for us?
Yeah, so this picture is of my dad before he deployed to Iraq for the second time. And in this picture is me and both of my siblings. My older sibling was 10 years old at the time. I was 5, and my younger sibling was 1.5. This was the second of 3 times that my dad had deployed. And as much as it was a really sad experience to know that he was going to be gone for the next 9 months, it was always a moment that really brought us together before he left, and brought a lot of my friends and our neighbors together because mass amounts of them would deploy at the same time. And we'd always go to Disney before he left so that if, God forbid, something did happen while he was overseas, that we'd have really good and fun memories left of our last time seeing him. But growing up in the military, not the best. I love my dad and I appreciate his service, but I'm not a fan of the military. And it was really hard on my family. My dad suffers with PTSD. He got a traumatic brain injury on his second deployment right after this picture was taken. And I mean, it's been a struggle. He's still here, but for a lot of my childhood, he wasn't. And even if he physically was, sometimes not emotionally or mentally. And it was really hard. I mean, on my mom, on my siblings and I, and we got through it. But I think a lot, especially as the oldest daughter, fell on me to carry, especially a lot of emotional burden for everyone. And I would say it definitely brought us closer together, but my younger sibling was also navigating chronic mental health, not mental health, also mental health, but chronic illness. My younger sibling has had 22 brain surgeries to date, and that's put a pretty big strain on our family. But also, no one knows our story like us.
And what sort of values, lessons, teachings have your father or one of your family members carried with you, taught you?
I think my dad has taught us, honestly, I think my younger sibling has taught me that no matter what comes up in life, I can get through it. It's cheesy, but like, I've survived every single one of my hardest moments up until now, and my family has faced so many things that many families wouldn't face one of in a lifetime. And the fact that we're still here means a lot and keeps me going. And I know even if I don't have something to prove to them, I have something to prove to myself that all of this has happened and I've gotten here for a reason. And I mean, I'm gonna do what makes me happy and get me to the place that I want to be, especially seeing so many of my neighbors and family friends lose husbands and dads and wives and mothers and family members just as a whole. Like, life is just real valuable and you're never going to get another one.
And so I want to transition us to talking about healing. There's a lot been going on since I just want to ask you, what do you wish to remember about this time?
I think I would want to remember how, even though I didn't want to be home during all of COVID, I was in South Carolina and separated from everyone, but it let me spend a lot more time with my family than I would have. And at the time, I definitely was ready to go. But it's taught me how lucky I am. I think in a lot of ways, me and my younger sibling were both immune compromised and were very stuck in place. And that was really, really hard, especially seeing not everyone respect that and do the same thing. But moving forward, I think I just want to remember that, like, I have to live in every moment and be present in every moment because it's not going to come again. And I think also just spending every single moment you can with family is just really priceless.
And so, what myths or stories about life, society, have died for you, or what has come to life?
Yeah, I'd say died for me is that I only have value through my relationship with other people. I've always been very much a people pleaser and someone who identifies through my relationship with other people. Like, oh, I'm a middle child, I'm a younger sister, an older sister, I was an athlete. And when I stopped doing rowing, that was something I had to process during COVID as well. Being home, can't really be in a boat. But I think a myth that has died has just been that, like, I am my own person and that I can lead my life sticking to my values rather than what the expectations are from the relationships around me.
And I know you brought an artifact of helium that speaks to this. So could you tell us a story about that?
Yeah, so these are two portraits of my younger sibling. I remember I got sent home and I was doing a film photography class and I couldn't process film at home, so I employed them to help me out. And I remember they were not very happy that I dragged them away from their video game, but I kind of let them have a natural resting face and then tried to make them laugh. And I think in that moment, I realized to myself, since I'd been away, and honestly most of our childhood, I hadn't known what made them laugh. And I didn't know them as well as I maybe knew my older brother. And I don't know, I think it really relates to that because I realized how much closer I got to get to them during COVID and just how precious every moment is. I mean, they don't smile very often. They're a little moody teenager. So this was one of those great moments that, like, I'm able to look back on and capture and bring forward with me. And knowing all the conversations that we had during COVID is really shown me how much of an impact I've had on their life, even when I don't really realize it, and how much of a role model I am for them.
What do you see in these photos?
I see myself. I've always kind of been told, funnily enough, that if I were a guy, if I were assigned male at birth, that I would look just like them, which has always been really funny. And I see hope for the next generation. I mean, I was raised in the military with conservative parents, and I've been on my own healing journey with therapy, with taking classes that I wouldn't have otherwise if I'd stuck to the South. And I think I've been translating that a lot to my younger sibling and just trying to make sure that no matter what, they know they can talk to me, and that, I don't know, that they just lead a good life and do what they want and don't let other people control that.
And then we want to kind of cap it off here around this conversation around hope, thinking about the future generation and how you want to be remembered. Could you read us a letter?
Yeah. Dear Lauren, or whoever holds this, you are what you've been looking for. There's no more waiting for the right time to come, and I'm hoping you've already embraced that fact by the time you're reading this. I'm terrified by the current state of the world, but I have hope. I hope for you, for our generation, and those to come. I have hope and I'm clinging to it. There are cycles and systems and structures that need to be dismantled, burned down. And there will always be people who don't believe in that possibility, but again, I have hope. I hope that you have grown and learned to love yourself and learned to accept the love and community that you deserve. You can't do it alone, and that's okay. You're more than your relationships and the titles you do or don't hold. You're worthy of love simply for existing. You are enough and you can make change, but you don't have to do it alone. You can roll your eyes at those affirmations, but then I want you to read them again. You are a miracle of a human. You have survived every single minute that you've faced so far, and you're not fucking this up. Hold on to that hope.
And so we come to the end, and we want to hear the artistic piece that you put together for us. Could you introduce it and give us a background about it?
Yeah, so this piece is called The Last Best Hope. I did write it today, but it's kind of a culmination of stuff that I've jotted down over the past few days and past few years, honestly. And I was thinking about my sibling when I wrote it and my hope for future generations. So I've never understood why my parents always told me that I was too emotional, too passionate, too sensitive, that I'm too naive to properly understand the world, as if I haven't been living through unprecedented events since the second I was born. Why do you care so much? They've always asked. How can you not? Is the only response I've ever had. I look around me and before me and I see heartache and hatred, isolation and survival. But I look to our future and the world that we're creating and I see hope and healing. Our generation has cultivated an unprecedented level of empathy for each other, for our planet, and for ourselves. After decades of those before us waiting for a new generation to save them. We can't wait any longer. We're living proof of what it means to survive, breaking the cycles of trauma and harm that have been passed on unhealed by those who came before us. We are the last best hope of Earth. We are the ones that we're looking for.